Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome. Here we are, 6 p.m. Sunday, and my name's Teresa Castro, and we're going to have our evening prayer, Kardec's 6 p.m. evening prayer. And of course, we always do a little message, raise our vibrations to get some education in. And today we are going to be reading, from Genesis. And it's in the second part, and it's on the miracles in the gospel. And we are going to be looking under the section of entitled Healings. And this is the section of the Genesis book, one of the codification books by Allan Kardec, where he takes some of the parables, some of the stories, some of the healings, and he explains them, that they're not miracles, they're not supernatural, that it's just, we don't necessarily have the science yet to understand it all. But he tries to explain them from a spiritist perspective, or he does explain them rather, excuse me. So again, this is, and the story, the healing that Jesus performed that we're going to look at, it's called the loss of blood. And it's from Mark chapter 5, verse 25 to 34. And it begins. Then a woman who had been afflicted with a loss of blood for 12 years, who had suffered much at the hands of several physicians, and who, having spent all her assets without having received any relief, but had only gotten worse, having heard about Jesus, she came up from, but only had gotten worse, having heard about Jesus, came up from behind the crowd and touched his garments. For she said to herself, if I could only touch his garments, I would be healed. At that instant, the source of blood she was losing dried up, and she felt within her body that she was healed of the illness. At the same instant, Jesus felt that power had gone out of him, and he turned to the crowd and asked, who touched my garments? His disciples said to him, you can see that the crowd is pressing in on you from all sides, and you ask who touched you? But he was looking all around to see who had touched him. However, the woman who knew what happened to her trembled with fear and came to throw herself at his feet and told him the whole truth. Jesus said to her, my daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace and be healed of your illness. And again, that is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, verse 25 to 34. And so this is a very powerful story of Jesus helping others. Hi, Narciso. So glad to have you this evening with me. Thank you for signing in. So what Kardec honed in on is the phrase that Jesus felt power had gone out of him. And so what he's referencing here when he talks about the power is he's talking about the fluid. He felt the fluid move to the bleeding woman. And you say, well, this fluid, the universal cosmic fluid, and when it condenses, it forms all matter. So I encourage you to read Genesis, and there's other books that go into more detail. So in its ethereal form, when it's less dense, this fluid comprises our perispirit. And so we know our vibrations emanate from there and we receive. So what we emit, we receive. And so Kardec goes on to explain that the healing occurred to fluidic radiation. But the interesting thing is it can occur by two ways. One is the healer, Jesus in this case, who would be directing that energy toward this woman. And it acts as a force pump. So the healer who's doing the healing their vibrations act as a force pump, all right, to the kind of pumping it out there. And then, hello, John DeRosa, thank you for signing in. And then the other way that this fluidic healing radiation can take place is that the person wanting to be healed acts as a suction pump, is like being ready to take it in. And the force is attracted by faith, okay? So it's the faith on the person's part who's desiring to be healed. So this is how Kardec is explaining this healing, that it was nothing miraculous, nothing out of the supernatural. And he says it's really true when Jesus says, your faith has saved you, because Jesus was not thinking about this woman. He didn't even know she was there. He was not directing any healing directly toward him. But of course, being this high vibration spirit, he's emanating, right, goodwill, and so really beautiful energies. And so we can understand that in this case, the healing occurred because of this woman's faith. Because she was able, because of her strong faith, she was able to receive those emanations from Jesus without him. He didn't lay his hands on her. He didn't know she was directly in the crowd. So it also goes on to explain, this is why two people going to the same healer, one might be healed and the other not, because one was maybe perhaps more receptive, more open, had more of a faith. So Kardec tells us this is an important principle in healing mediumship. You know, it's this road, and it doesn't necessarily have to be two-way directly, provided all the parts are there, right? That the healer is emanating of goodwill, and that the person who's seeking the healing is very receptive and having a true faith and belief. So we should understand true faith, right? And we know this from the Gospel, according to Spiritism, another codification book. Chapter 19, Kardec talks about true faith, which we understand is unshakable faith. And this is a faith of certainty that we know, but it's one of humility, that all the power is coming from God, Creator, not from within myself. I know we know we're only instruments of this source. And it also says, he went on to say that it involves patience, knowing how to wait, and it can be enhanced, right? So having this true faith of certainty, but humility, and then of being of goodwill, it can have an effect on the fluid. And actually, that's how the healings can take place. So there are other kinds of faith, right? We realize that. You can have a faltering faith, and Kardec explains this as well, that you're uncertain, you have doubt. And he goes on to say that this doubt actually increases the resistance to receiving these healing vibrations. It repels them, kind of pushes that current away. And then he says there's also that presumptuous faith where it's like, oh yeah, you believe, you're certain, but you think it's from you, thinking I know better than God. So there's some pride there. And also it's a faith of imposition. You know, I am now going to heal you. You know, I'm the great all-almighty healer. So these are neither of which are true faith. So not as effective in healing. But it's a wonderful story. And I encourage people, if you've not read that part in Genesis, or even if you had, to go back and reread it. All the stories on the different miracles, the wedding at Cana, some of those stories many of us are familiar with from the New Testament. But to get an understanding that it's not only this, yes, I believe, but it's that unshakable faith, bringing the science and the knowledge and the reasoning in as well. So, beautiful message today. It reminds us that, to keep ourselves a good instrument, to entertain higher vibrations, higher levels of thinking, and to take notice of how are we behaving, how are we treating our brothers and sisters. So I think that's a good place to go off into our prayer. But I would like to share in that same chapter about true faith, there was a spirit that gave a teaching, and this was Joseph. He was a protector spirit in 1862 in Bordeaux. He gave this message. And one of the things he said is true faith is contagious. We spread it through our examples, through the way we live, not by preaching. So I'm summarizing, but it's contagious. Isn't that a wonderful thing? So just by me having goodwill, you having goodwill, we affect the goodwill of those around us and influence the fluids, the vibrations, thus maybe helping the transition a little along, right, to moving toward regeneration. So let us, in this higher state of thinking, of consciousness, let us close our eyes. Let ourselves relax. Our minds can relax. And let us connect with our hearts. Mother, Father, God, thank you for this moment that we can come together in the spirit of your loving vibrations, and that we can feel this divine light you shed upon us. We thank you. We are so grateful for Kardec, Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, Joanna de Angelis, Divaldo Franco, and all those working in the spiritual realm, in both realms, that help us. And we in turn can help each other. So we take a moment to pray for those who are feeling harsh trials, many transitions in life, many struggles, whatever they may be, medical, private, public, business, work. And let us connect with our spirits, reminding ourselves of our mission and to keep walking forward along this path that Jesus laid for us so beautifully. And may those who are in less need than ourselves receive those vibrations of love, courage, and peace. So let us go forth as beacons of light, practicing this peace that we find within. And so be it. And so it is. And so it is, my friends. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed the message. I know I did. And I look forward to seeing you all next Sunday, 4th of July, and also the anniversary of Kardec Radio, 10 years. So please join in. There's lots of special programming going on this week. So tune into Kardec Radio, where we can always, always nourish our souls. God bless. Yes, thank you, John DeRosa. Beautiful prayer.